After the GOP took a shellacking in the 2012 elections, there was a whole lot of talking about rebranding the Republican Party. The GOP said they were going to invest in outreach to minorities and women. They wanted to make their platform less divisive. But in reality, we've witnessed a lot of the same old, same old. Case in point, one of the marquee names of the GOP teaming up with one of the party's most extreme members. On Tuesday, former vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan phoned in to a call with Republican candidate for Virginia, Governor Ken Cuccinelli. Homophobic, anti-choice, climate science denying, birther-friendly, big three hating Ken Cuccinelli. The same Cuccinelli who likens abortion to slavery and the Civil War.
You talked about, again, your strong right to life views and about God and being surprised that God hasn't punished America in some way for abortion.
If you go back to Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War, he looked at the Civil War as a sort of a national penance for slavery, the evil of slavery and letting it go on. And the founders knew how bad it was. And we have other things in this country today, and abortion is one of them.
This is who the Republican Party elevates? I don't see a whole lot of rebranding going on there, my friends. The sad thing is, using slavery rhetoric is nothing new for the Republican Party. If they don't like a law, suddenly it's akin to slavery. Take the Affordable Care Act, for instance.
What is Obamacare? It is a law as destructive to personal and individual liberty as the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 that allowed slave owners to come to New Hampshire and seize African Americans and use the federal courts to take them back to slave states. And
I hear Democrats say the Affordable Care Act is the law, as though we're supposed to genuflect at that sunburst of insight and move on. Well, the Fugitive Slave Act was the law. Separate but equal was the law. Lots of things are the law, and then we changed them.
The Republicans say, well, we can't do anything about it. The law is the law. It's the law of the land. And, well, so was slavery one time, the law of the land.
Going back to when legislation approved slavery and all of that, this is even more dangerous than that.
Yeah, this affects millions. In fact, it affects probably every single American.
Obamacare is really, I think, the worst thing that has happened in this nation since slavery. And it is, in a way, it is slavery, in a way, because it is making all of us subservient to the government.
Earlier this month, even President Obama had to call out the crazy.
You had a state representative somewhere say that it's as destructive to personal and individual liberty as the Fugitive Slave Act. Think about that. Affordable health care is worse than a law that lets slave owners get their runaway slaves back. I mean, these are quotes. I'm not making this stuff up.
My brothers and sisters, permit me the esteemed privilege for just a moment to be America's professor. Let's take a quick refresher course here. 1850's Fugitive Slave Act asserted the rights of a slave owner to reclaim an escaped slave, even if that person had run to territory where slavery was illegal. The law levied harsh punishments for interfering with their capture. The law heightened hostility between the North and the South. It is, without doubt, one of the most controversial laws of the 19th century. So let's break this down. The Affordable Care Act and the Fugitive Slave Act, both laws. But I want to make one thing absolutely clear. The similarities end there. That's it. Let me tell you, slavery was one of the most dehumanizing acts of American history. It was the systemic attempt to deprive people of the privilege of existing freely. It made one group of people subordinate to another. It made race the central preoccupation of America. The poisonous bigotry that has polluted this nation has continued to infiltrate itself into our collective and consciousness and our, if you will, individual and collective lives. But the problem is that the bigotry and racism that persist as a pedigree of slavery have to be rejected. And even if black men talk about slavery akin to the Affordable Care Act, they are wrong. Black mouths are opening, white supremacist ideals are speaking. There's a ventriloquist act going on here. So when you hear people like E.W. Jackson or Ben Carson or Allen West speak about slavery in relationship to the Affordable Care Act, they are not giving you serious history. Read Orlando Patterson's Slavery and Social Death, where he talks about the genealogical isolation. What does that big term mean? That means you don't know who your mama or daddy is. So you're floating out there without a sense of connection and rootedness to your particular family. He talked about social death. What does that mean? That means that human beings have no recognition in the state, in no recognition that the state is bound to, if you will, acknowledge, and our humanity is lost and cut off. We are dead, socially existing vampires, if you will. People who have been body snatched from the land of freedom and thrust into slavery. The only thing that is comparable to slavery is slavery itself. Stop all the stuff. Ixnay on the comparative analysis of and the parallels to slavery. Affordable Care Act has freed millions of people from their indentured existence in a system that denied them opportunity. Let's not talk about their enslavement. Let's talk about their relative freedom to exercise their choice in 2013.